What's up, fight fans from all around the world? I am your fight goddess, Chris Baller, and I'm here with my fight family to talk about women's boxing. I'm here with women's boxing historian Malissa Smith and my boy, Eddie. We call him the Conscious of Combat Sports, Mr. Goldman, Eddie Goldman. How the hell you guys doing today? Did you guys see that fight? I know you guys had to watch that DAZN card because I caught like the few first fights and then I think I dozed off. But I saw Shadeja Green knock out Elin Cederos. Is that how you pronounce her last name? Oh my God.
Yeah, Aylin.
Aylin. Oh my Lord. When I saw that, Shadeja kind of reminds me of like a Anwolf mixed with George Foreman. It was like, oh shit. But great round of boxing. It was a great, entertaining show. And we had our own very Malissa Smith, up in Hulu Theater on February 4th at Madison Square Garden to see this fight up close and personal. Melissa, you got to give us a rundown, baby.
Well, yeah, first of all, the atmosphere was fantastic. I mean,
right?
For people who don't know the Hulu Theater, it's a smaller little theater. It seats about 5,000. I mean, if you fill the rafters.
Right.
But and
it used to be called the Paramount and the Felt Forum and the theater.
Yeah, it's had a lot of names, but right now it's the Hulu, but it's the small little venue within Madison Square Garden. If you put people in the rafters, it gets about 5,000. Usually there's 3,500 to 4,500. And it's well known because it has these weird lights across the ceiling that are in this kind of crosshatch pattern. So it's really kind of fun. And the nice thing about it also is you can really sit anywhere in the theater, even in the way back in the $30 seats in the last row and still sort of see what's going on.
Right.
So it's kind of nice. And it's a place where all the New York fight rivalries happen. So the best day to go there is like St. Patty's Day or the St. Patty's Day weekend, because you always got an Irish fighter and a Puerto Rican fighter, and you got Irish flags and you got Puerto Rican flags, and they're like practically dueling each other with it. And that was kind of the atmosphere coming into this fantastic fight night at the Hulu Theater on February 4th, where you had 5 women's bouts out of a total of 9 fights on the card. The top 2 fights on the card were for undisputed belts, undisputed championship bragging rights. One, with the main headliner being Amanda Serrano going after her undisputed in the for the featherweight at 126 pounds. Right. And then Alicia Baumgardner going for the 130-pound world super feather. So that was that. And then we had these 3 really excellent female bouts on the undercard. Well, 2 of the 3 were excellent. The third was a little less than excellent, but still entertaining. And 4 guys fights. And so it made for a really nice card and a lot of nice of that ethnic rivalry that seems to really be so much a part of what New York's all about. So we had a lot of Puerto Rican flags and a lot of Puerto Rican music because we had 2 big fighters on
Puerto
the card.
Rican fighters. There were quite a few Puerto Rican fighters.
Yeah, and Amanda Serrano won, and you had this guy John Bowser was Puerto Rican.
Ooh,
and,
he took a beating.
Diaz was Puerto Rican. So some of the undercard were, and certainly Serrano, who by going for the undisputed would become the first Puerto Rican fighter, male or female, so just boxer period, to ever become undisputed. So it was a big deal. And then her opponent was Mexican, or is Mexican, Erica Cruz Hernandez. She's been holding the WBA belt at featherweight for a few years. She's a warrior from Mexico, forward fighter. El Toro, boom. Exactly. So she was there. So you got Mexican flags hanging there, and then you got Mexican music and Puerto Rican music. So you kind of going between mariachi and salsa. Yeah. Then there was this kid Richardson Hitchens on the card. He's they call him Africa. He's actually Haitian. He fights out of Cops and Kids in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Really fantastic young fighter at super light. So he's
the one that fought Bowser.
Yeah, he fought John Bowser on the card. So really, really good card and enough interest for New York to really fill that stadium just about Well, just about. There were still
Right.
seats at the end that
From
somehow
TV view,
miraculously got to be sold out
right,
by
from
the
the
time they could
fan,
announce it.
right, from the fans' view, it did look like it was out, you know, because the camera really only covers those
Well, yeah,
first
but
few
it was
seats.
even when you're in the stand, you know, when
Yeah,
you're in looking up, it was you had to go way, 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 way,
right,
way to the
right.
back. And it was maybe a little sparser, but not really. It had a lot of people in there. And very excited and very crowded and really fun. So
Right. Well,
that
look, all I know is it's happy hour right now, and I have to like toast it up to my girls. Cheers.
yeah, exactly.
Women,
So
you know,
to go
cheers.
into the fights, you know, the undercard, there were these three undercard fights. The first one to start off the night was Shadaza Green fighting Aylin Sederus. Aylin
I love
Sederus,
that.
from Sweden, super middleweight, former champion, had two belts. Last time we saw her was getting her, you know, getting beat by Franchon Cruz on the Madison Square Garden card with
Oh
Taylor
shit.
Serrano
So
back
wait,
in
should
April.
Deja and Franchon go at it next? Is that what happens?
Well, that's the thing. They were fighting, you know, Shadaza had won the WBC silver middle, and so she was defending her silver middleweight, super middle, sorry. But they were also fighting for the WBA eliminator. So whoever won gets first dibs at Franchon Cruz.
Oh yeah.
So we will see how that all
And
transpires.
she was in the house that night too.
She was in the house. She was awesome. They were, in terms of undisputed, Claressa Shields was in the house.
Right. Katie
Shadaza
Taylor.
Green was in the house.
Right.
You know, I mean, that was, I mean, I'm sorry, Franchon Cruz, Claressa Shields, who else? Sinisha Estrada was there.
Katie Taylor.
Katie Taylor came at the end because they made a big announcement about their upcoming fight. Jessica McCaskill was announcing for DAZN, so she was there.
Yeah.
Michaela Mayer. I mean, there were just a lot of people. A lot of women fighters were there. It was really kind of
cheers, ladies. Cheers, so babies.
Absolutely cheers. And you know, when Taylor Serrano fought as the main event in Madison Square Garden in the big arena, there was a lot of emotion associated with it, and it's sort of everybody knew this was history, and there was this kind of you were kind of a little bit caught up in your chest with tears just ready to spring. This event was much more fun, much more relaxed, because yeah, it made news. It had two undisputed on one card. Never happened in the history of boxing, but it was just a more relaxed, kind of fun experience. So Shadaza Green came out. She got a TKO win in the 6th round. She you know, and to Aylin Sederus's credit, she really fought very well in those first 2 rounds. She's a come forward kind of fighter, so Shay Green was definitely a little bit on the back foot, but she came back. She knew how to defend herself well.
Countered well. She countered well. Yeah,
she countered well. She uses the ring well, and in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, she really turned it around and had much more of an advantage in terms of taking control of the fight. She also, but she, you know, she was open. She got tagged a few times, and Aylin Sederus is no joke. She's a real fighter, and she came to win. Right. So this was no easy win for Shay Green. It's just she's just got, as you say, that Ann Wolf, George Foreman energy just coursing through her.
Okay.
And she was real popular. You know, she comes from Paterson, New Jersey, which is just across the river from New York. So she had a lot of fans from New Jersey that were there supporting her. Yep. So it really made for a lot of fun, and it was a great way to start the women's part of the card.
Right.
Next up, yeah, go ahead.
Let me just say, I just loved seeing her family, her wife and her son come out to support in the middle of the ring, because you know it's like I'm trying to support all the women in it, and it was beautiful to watch, to see our family. It really
was. It was beautiful, and she, you know, I had the opportunity to meet her the day before during the weigh-ins, and she could not have been lovelier or more gracious or sweet. And then we saw her again. She came into the stands where I was sitting, and we were trying to get her. I should add, let me just start off by saying Lady Tiger Trimier was in the house.
Okay.
She's in a wheelchair now. So there's this part of the sort of the back of one of the sections where they have a space for people in wheelchairs. And we were trying to get people up to see her. And so we were trying to get Shay Green to meet her. It just didn't work out. But Shay, as I said, was really gracious and wanted to be able to do that, but just things took over because of the fact that she had won, and that was such a big deal for her.
Right.
But anyway, so I did get to meet her a couple of times. She could not have been lovelier, and as you say, had the support of her wife, her son.
Love it.
And
yes.
the audience. She had everyone in that theater just pulling for her. You could feel
That's
it.
Right.
You could
We're
feel
waiting on you, Shadeja. Come sit in the war room with us so we can chop it up, babies.
And you know, and she's now been ranked number one, at least by one of the ranking outfits in the super middleweight division, and because she won WBA as an eliminator, so hopefully, you know, we'll see some big things for her as she comes into her next fight.
Cheers.
What will now be 12-0.
12-0 with what, 10, 11 KOs? 10
and
KOs?
11 KOs.
11
KOs. She got a late start boxing because she was a college basketball player, and she's really making quite an impression that she's really put herself in a position to fight for that undisputed title against Cruz Dezern, who decision set a roost, and she got a stoppage. So that's going to be interesting to see if and when they fight.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eddie. It's going to be interesting. And you're absolutely right to bring up the fact that she had a very excellent career in basketball. So she came and did come to boxing late, but she just has that she's just a natural athlete, or not a natural athlete. She worked at it to be a basketball player, and then has made the transition into martial sports in a brilliant way. Then the other two women's fights were among the much smaller weights. And Ramla Ali, who came into the fight at 7-0. She's from Britain, but came to Britain from Somalia, from Mogadishu, as a refugee, and now is training out in Los Angeles area with Manny Robles. So she's been out there really changing up her game.
She looks a lot better to me. I know that.
She really does. And, kind of has that California Mexican style, Southern California.
Coach Manny going to teach you that.
Yeah. So she's got Coach Manny, and he's another one who's a sweetheart of a guy.
He's a great dude. I like him a lot.
Having a lovely conversation with him at the weigh-in and with Ramla Ali. She was fighting Avril Maythi, who we actually had on WAAR Room last June, and that was her last fight. Ramla Ali obviously was a class above her in the fight. The scores came in a little over generous across the boards at 99-91. It was probably more like 97-93. But she did get the win on points, and then it turned out, she had been mentioning that she wasn't feeling all that well, and people kind of go, oh, yeah. Well, it turned out she had pneumonia, viral pneumonia, and a partially collapsed right lung when she fought 10 rounds and beat the girl.
That is amazing.
So it just says something to her extraordinary level of conditioning working with Manny Robles, that she could actually fight on a collapsed lung.
Exactly. And I wonder if they gave her any type of medication and to combat that. I mean, she must have been on like antibiotics.
She was on something, but she didn't know. They were mistreating her. They thought
they misdiagnosed it.
She was not diagnosed with pneumonia until after the fight.
Oh,
she left it. No, she fought with pneumonia and a collapsed lung.
What a bunch of bozo doctors. You got to get better.
That is
You got to get better doctors,
No shit.
Absolutely crazy. She went to the hospital after the fight because she was feeling so crappy. And they discovered she had viral pneumonia and a collapsed lung. Partially collapsed right lung.
Unbelievable. Well, I found out about her collapsed lung and pneumonia from one of our fans on IG. He's also a boxing writer, Christopher Benedict.
Yes, exactly. We were sitting together.
Yeah. Oh, you were?
Yeah, he was sitting with Lady Tiger.
Right. Yeah. Chris, thanks for letting us know what's up on that.
Yeah, no, he and I were sat together for part of the fight, part of the night, because he was very kindly assisting Lady Tiger trivia.
Nice, good job.
With, good work. She was there with her caregiver Carmen, who's just a sweetheart, and he was helping her out.
Right.
But he got the scoop on Ramla Ali and put out a really good piece. Posted it on Facebook and IG. So then the third.
He's not on Twitter.
No, he used to be on Twitter. He just said, "I'm off Twitter." So he and I, we converse on Facebook and on IG. I'll try to get him over. We just parenthetically, we got to get everybody over to Spoutable. Got to get Boxing Twitter over to make it Spoutable Twitter boxing, but that's another story. Anyway, the third woman's fight was Sky Nicholson. She's Australian. Has this big following, even though she was 5-0 coming into the card. Had a decent amateur record. She was fighting a Spanish fighter named Tanya Alvarez for the WBC silver feather, and had she was sort of the main event of the pre-card. Well, she spent 10 rounds getting chased. I don't know if anybody saw that fight, but it was kind of
I think I saw Sky Nichols. Yeah, Nicholson. I think I saw her. Nicholson.
Yeah, so she fought Tanya Alvarez. She got the win on a split. She got the UD win. Two of the cards were 97-93. One of them said 190. That was ridiculous. But basically, Tanya Alvarez is even though she came in with a 7-0 record, she obviously hadn't really fought many people, because she came in there and chased her. She just was running across the ring to try to hit her. And Sky Nicholson just never could figure out how to cut off the ring. So she got chased for 10 rounds.
Exactly.
It was like, Roger Rabbit. It's crazy. It was like, and we were screaming, "Cut off the damn ring!"
Right.
Stop.
Wait a minute. Her coach should have been yelling that shit.
Or just you stand in the middle of the ring and say, "Are you going to fight me, or are you going to chase? Are you here to run a race, or are you here to fight?"
That's fine.
She just didn't know how to handle it, and ended up getting tagged for a few rounds because she just wasn't defending it. She wasn't doing anything. She was just trying to fend off this fighter without ever making anything affirmative in terms of how to cut off the ring and how to stop this kind of a crazy fighter. So anyway,
she better get back in training camp, get back to work.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully she learns a lot out of this. Anyway, she got the WBC silver feather title out of it, which, made sense because the other girl certainly wasn't winning anything. But it got to be the point where nobody was even watching the fight in the arena. Everybody was just chit-chatting
and that was their intermission. They were taking a break.
Exactly. Even though, because we knew the big card was coming up. So I was like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did she win yet? All right.
That is too funny. So
I want to add a bunch of comments about this card and some of the reaction to it. And as usual, I'm going to be sparing no verbal punches. There was a hit piece written against this card by a writer, Thomas Chaza. I think Melissa knows what that means. You could look.
Exactly.
Hey, Thomas,
you could look up what Chaza means if you don't know what that means in Yiddish. And this is a guy he's criticized really correctly many times the New York State Athletic Commission, because it's the bozo commission for decades. But here he basically defending a lot of the stuff that was going on and attacking this card as all mismatches based on the scores. For example, as you mentioned, the Ramla Ali Avril Massi fight, the official score was 99-91. That was an absurd scoring. And it's just because of the corruption in boxing and the incompetence that we know. So how could you call that fight a mismatch? Plus, Avram Matzi was going up in weight against Ramla Ali. So yeah, Ramla Ali won the fight. But if you watch the fight, it's a competitive, relatively close fight. The right person won, but to call it a mismatch is absurd. Right. The two main fights were for undisputed titles. How can you criticize Amanda Serrano or Alicia Baumgartner for fighting to get these other belts to become undisputed champions of the world in their respective weight classes? Yes, we know there are too many belts, all these sanctioning bodies, all this nonsense is corrupt, but it's not like they were just fighting somebody that they found off the street. They were fighting somebody that was legitimately in the top 5 or so in the weight class. And we know women's boxing has a smaller talent pool and is newer than men's boxing, both on a professional and amateur level. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have situations like this where your top champion is head and shoulders above the next contender, but you can't criticize them for fighting for an undisputed title. It's utterly preposterous. And as Melissa said, the Chideja Green fight started off as a close fight, and until she got that knockdown in round 3, and pretty much she was battering around Setarus and got that TKO in round 6. She also has to improve. She's a powerful right hand. She's a good counter puncher, but she still got hit too much. And Setarus is a former champion, and Green needs to be able to move a little bit more. Also, the announcers on this card. You have a guy, the main play-by-play guy, they got from WWE and UFC. And he could be on a list of the Uncle Roger Mayweather Award for the stuff that was going on. I mean, he's calling fights like when Baumgartner threw punches, he was kind of silent. And, you know, when our opponent was throwing punches, we got, oh, this is happening. And there was one point where Baumgartner, got hit with the flurry, and she came back and she cornered her and really took over that round. And he says, Baumgartner got angry. She didn't get angry. That's the way you fight. You countered that and you took it over. It wasn't based on anger. But this is they're bringing a guy from WWE and its clone UFC. And this is what they think fighting is about, getting angry. You get angry, you probably, on this level, you're probably going to lose. It was a good strategy to do this. It wasn't based on that. So what I'm saying is that the coverage that you're getting, plus the lack of promotion in general for this card, just really shows you again that with all this interesting and good stuff going on, you still have a lot of the boxing establishment working against it or just really ignoring it. So I think that has to be pointed out. And these are people I'm talking about that have been around for a long time. So they can all, my where.
Yeah. So, to talk
Kiss
about
my ass, I'll say it for you.
Yeah. I mean, Baumgartner, she came to fight. She came to win. And she really brought her game. If you look at her from a year ago to now, she has really worked very hard.
Yeah.
Does she still have some faults? Look, every boxer has faults. For her, she really is more of a sprinter. She has a sprinter's mentality. She goes in, she's got a flurry. She works herself. She just puts all of her energy into it. And then, she's gasping for air a little bit.
She was gassed out after doing that.
This was, she's got really good skills. She's improved her countering. She's improved her aggression. She's improved her lateral movement, her use of the ring, her use of her feet. And in Ellen McKellen, you have a former interim WBC champion. She's from Paris. She came off, her last fight was against Pursoon. in Saudi Arabia. She went, that a fight she took on 2 weeks notice, went 10 rounds and really scored pretty darn well. So she's not a girl that backs down, and she really brought it to Baumgardner across the 10 rounds. She made this a real fight. This was not a walkover. And, while the scores show things like 99-89, 98-90, in part, that's because she had 2 knockdowns in the third round.
Easily could have been called a third knockdown.
And it could have been a third when she slipped. It could have,
Right.
I think those of us in the theaters thought it was a third knockdown.
Yeah, they said it was like cuffing, but there was also a punch in there.
Yeah, exactly. But
the fight could have been stopped at that point.
And it could have been stopped, but I got to say the judges were letting stuff really go. So she did get up and she fought really long and hard and fought through the 10th round. Had a few incidents where she, was able to rock Alicia Baumgardner back. And the point being that Alicia really thought she had Michaela in the 3rd round and thought she was going to get the TKO win or the KO, but she didn't. And
she gassed out.
Survived it.
Right.
And not only survived it, but brought it in the 4th round. She just sucked it up, bit down on her gums, and just came out boxing. And Baumgardner was tired,
Right.
So, Mekhala got the 4th round. I mean, she was winning rounds.
I'm gonna say this about the gas out part, because at the end, I think it was Chris Mannix who was talking to her and asking her about, whatever. And she just said, I just want to tell you guys, I started my period today. And then Chris, the next question was like, he completely does not understand that when a woman bleeds on the first day, that she has no energy, Chris. No energy for Alicia Baumgardner to come out there and whip that girl's ass. She is going to run out of steam at 2 minutes. So that's why it's like, come on, dude, you don't even understand what's going on. You
don't know what's going on. No, that was the greatest thing in the world.
That's the incompetent, biased level that we see from Mannix, Grisham, Kaza, all of these guys.
I got to tell you, the audience erupted. There were a lot of women in that audience. Right, we were cheering. We were going, yes, baby. Girl, yes.
What's up? Look, all I got to say is cheers. Cheers.
Also, I would say this thing about her gassing out, I think also the announcers made too much of that, because she was fighting intelligently. She was pacing herself with all the problems, and they don't understand. They think, again, bringing in a guy from WWE and UFC, they think it's Raw where 2 people just going to stand in front of each other and wildly throw punches. That's just called boxing. It's not UFC. It's not WWE. And she fought very, very intelligently, as many fighters did, given what limitations were. And they really oversold that. And I didn't hear any commentary where they pointed that out, how she was pacing herself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and she was pacing herself, but still, as I said, though, she has the heart of a sprinter. A sprinter's sprint. They go fast, and then you got to slow down. That's just the way a sprinter works versus a marathoner. She is not a marathoner in the ring. She's a sprinter. And it gives her a fast twitch. It gives her the opportunity to really come in and go ba 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 at this rapid fire, because her speed is really incredible to watch live. And she's a really bright boxer, and you can see how far she's come along under the tutelage of Tony Harrison, and how much further better she will get. She was awesome.
She's gonna be amazing to watch in another year or so. And I'm telling you, because she's like, to me, when I first saw her, I was like, oh shit, she's like the female Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
She's good. Yeah, she's good, and she will continue. You could see her improving through the fight. She's still at the stage in her boxing where she learns from every round she fights, and she picks it up. She keeps it. She retains it, and then all of that set up that crazy main event between Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz Hernandez. And for people who didn't see this fight, who don't understand what this means, Cruz was had one way to go: forward, head out like this.
Cruz, man.
Rights and lefts and rights, because they were both southpaws too, which made it a really interesting fight. Because Amanda's not used to fighting southpaws. Both southpaws, and Amanda's a little bit straighter,
right?
And Cruz is forward like a bull.
So look, let me ask. So what is a coach? How do you counter somebody that comes at you like every time she stepped? That's the only way she fought. There was no jabbing. It was just bring your head in and how the hell
head in and
then with those 8 punches.
Yeah, 8 rounds. I mean, like she's a southpaw, so her jab should be straight, but actually her jab is the same thing as her hook on the right side. Boom, boom. It's just winging.
The jab first.
And that's the only thing you can do. And the thing with Cruz is that it's not like she was headhunting. It just lands wherever it lands. And she was really wailing away on Serrano. Now, there are people who swear this was a robbery, that Cruz won the fight. I mean, there's this vocal minority that were jumping up and down.
No, Amanda won that. But it was closer than people thought it was gonna be.
I had a solidly 90. I was comfortable with seeing it as a 96, 94. 97, 93 was okay, but 96, 94 could also work. Cruz had that horrible cut in the 3rd round. Again, going forward, heads go like that.
Right.
Big cut. So as a consequence, the ring was a bloody mess.
I saw that splattered everywhere.
I mean,
somebody called CSI.
The zone was in white, and it was just like somebody had been taking paint droppings, red paint. It was
call CSI.
Right. And so it's like it didn't affect her. She just would blink her eyes or wipe her glove and just keep going. And Amanda was, Amanda's Amanda, so she's hitting her in the head. Blood starts spurting everywhere. She don't care. Boom.
Right. They were going at it.
And she definitely rocked Serrano. Serrano had a great 6th round. She really rocked Cruz. I don't know, like we were all again live in the audience. Our heart was like, oh, how is she still standing? Because she really got hit hard. Staggers somehow makes it back to her corner, comes in for the 7th round. It's like it never happened.
Right. That was amazing to watch. Exactly. It was just
throwing
like, she's yelling at her corner, like she's telling them to stop, whatever they were doing.
Like by the 8th round, she was like, get the fuck off me. Right. Stop. Leave me alone. She's like, get away from me.
And that was her brother and her dad.
Yeah, and she's like, get away from me. Go away. She
needs better trainers, and she also has to listen to the trainers.
Right, she needs to listen to the trainers.
She needs to listen to the trainers, but they need to be other than her brother and her father, because they were driving her crazy.
Yeah.
She got rocked again in the 9th, somehow survived that, came back to the 10th, and it was just a bloody 10th. Now, what Serrano was able to do was kind of sort of zero base herself and went back to the 1-2. And had success with that. And once she had some success, she got some more confidence and won some more rounds. But really, she won the fight at the end of the fight, not in those big early rounds. They were tied. They were going back and forth. 3rd, obviously, the 6th round she took, even though it was a 10-9 round. It could have been 10-8 because she really, really rocked her. But Cruz is a warrior. We really hope we see.
Right, I'm giving it up for Cruz, because that was that was a head stomper right there.
Yeah, so it's kind of a slow start to women's boxing, women's fighting, or just boxing in general.
Right,
January was barely there, but this card was amazing. And then this weekend there's a bunch of fights. With 3 fights today. In England. British fighters who were kind of like 2-0, 3-0, an 8-1 fighter.
And they're fighting
Nicola
on TV?
Hopewell. Bree Bearbury and Stevie Levy each had fights. They all won. They all won well. And this was a small little card with a promotion company called GBM Sports. It was live on YouTube. You didn't have to pay for it. Thank goodness.
Oh, wow. No shit.
And that was really nice. And then tomorrow, Caroline Dubois, who's on the Boxer family of fighters, she's on a fight card. I think in the US it'll be on Fight TV, although you got to pay $10, even if you're a member.
I try to support that. If it's women, I try to support. I can get it.
Yeah, $10. So I do too. She's fighting tomorrow, and she is a good girl. Caroline Dubois, she's
to the Dubois.
She's Dubois family out. They call her Sweet Caroline. She's a southpaw, and she's fighting tomorrow. A fighter from Tanzania named Farish Mashauri. I don't know much about her. She's got a 10-7 record. It's probably, it's cannon fodder for her. But Dubois is getting better every time she fights, and she's certainly a future champion. She had a really excellent 37-3 amateur career. She made the quarterfinals of the Olympic Games last time around, and she's somebody that should stay on our radar. There's also she'll be on this card tomorrow. It'll be on, as I said, in the US, it'll be on Fight TV starting around 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow.
Right on. Fight TV.
And our girl Heather Hardy's fighting in 2 weeks. She'll be
right on. Who's Heather fighting?
She's fighting on February 23rd at the Sony Theater in New York. It's a small venue. She is it's a new promotional company with Boxing Insider. She's working on it as doing some of the promotion as well as being
she tell us that when we interviewed
her. Yeah. And this is a group that it's being, I would say that Lou DiBella is their kind of Dutch uncle on this. He's kind of keeping a hand in. Right. And then he has, Jessica Kamara is going to be fighting again, I think next weekend, I want to say. Not exactly sure of the date. So Lou's really kind of trying to get some women in his stable back to boxing, and she's won. And Mary McGee fought 2 weeks ago and won. So hopefully we'll see her back more in contention for a belt again fairly soon.
Right on. Did you happen to watch that interview with Layla Ali and the guys off of DAZN?
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, there's an interview. If you have DAZN, check it out.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so the guys that do the boxing show, I can't remember their names, but
no, I know who you mean.
That
show every day.
It was a pretty good interview because Layla, when she fought Christy Martin, she said Katie Taylor was inspired by Layla Ali, and it was a pretty interesting interview to see that.
I'll have to catch it because I was just writing about Layla. As you know, I'm writing a book, and I was just writing a little bit about the end of her career.
Yeah, check it out.
Well, the beginning of her career coinciding with the first international women's amateur fights, and then the end of her career coinciding with the run up into the Olympics. She is an important figure, and it's interesting that you say that because she was inspired by Christy Martin herself. She saw a fight, and she had she was a tough girl, Layla Ali. She even went to jail for a while. She was in an alternative program and had to turn her life around as a 17-year-old. And then just went into boxing in part because she was inspired by Christy Martin. It was sort of like, what? I can box?
Right.
Really?
Right, exactly. And she knew that she couldn't just go on the name. She knew that she needed to really
do the work.
And
she did.
Absolutely. I like that.
You can use that picture of me interviewing Layla.
That's right, Eddie.
I'll give you the credit. I'll tell you who shot that, but you can use that picture.
Okay,
I like that.
I'll put that.
I was a little younger then.
Right. Well, all right now. So that was a great week of boxing. We look forward to all the promoters out there who are putting women boxers on your cards. Thank you very much. Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn, all you guys out there doing the work. And
And
the rest of you catch up.
Jake Paul, a clown as much as he is, had two of the fighters on this card, Amanda Serrano and Shadeja Green.
That's right. That's
exactly.
Right.
And as much shit as we talk about Jake Paul, he is doing some good work.
No, he is doing some good work. He's getting them paid, and he also is partnering with PFL. And it looks like Amanda, as with Clarissa, is going to step back into MMA for some fighting and some money making, basically, because they make more money doing that.
Make that money.
And again, I got to say this again. PFL in the United States gets their shows on ESPN or ESPN2, which only whenever they have women's boxing, it's generally on their app, their ESPN Plus app, and they shunt it off to that. So they'll put Clarissa Shields on TV and when she boxes on MMA, when she boxes, put her on the app. I mean, it's all the stuff is just going down the drain.
Well, yeah,
in the United States anyway.
Yeah, agreed. And there's talk that Showtime may be a bye-bye because they just got bought out by Paramount, and there's really
they've always been part of it. No, they've always been part of it, but Paramount is now called Paramount Global, which is renamed Viacom, which is reunited Viacom and CBS. Anyway, what they've done is that they're going to be merging Showtime with Paramount Plus, into one service. They also said they're going to be dropping the lowest 10% shows with the least of the 10% viewership of these on there. So you got to see the way that they. Yeah, of course, it's going to go the way. It's very likely it's going to go the way of HBO boxing. That was for different similar but different reasons, but the way that Showtime boxing has been mismanaged, showing these awful PBC cards and only putting decent fights on pay-per-view, it's the same old story. And they're going to say, why should we pay all this money and get all this controversy to get a couple 100,000 people watching at midnight on a Saturday night a Showtime card when we could just repeat one of our shows in a movie for probably less money and get more viewers? That's my feeling. And remember when Spike TV became Paramount Network, the cable TV network, they used to show PBC cards, and when it became Paramount Network, they dropped the PBC cards. So that could be an indication.
I forgot about Spike TV.
Yeah. So, but the point being, if Showtime goes, there's nothing left except Top Rank on ESPN.
Right.
And
DAZN. Right.
And DAZN is American. In terms of as an American product. That's it.
Right.
ESPN will be the only one, and they barely show boxing. You go to find it on ESPN Plus, you got to scroll all the way down for the sport.
Right.
Right now it's next to swimming.
Right.
So
boxing is about to go extinct.
Pickleball.
Right.
Pickleball.
Right. Boxing is about to be extinct like humans.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank goodness for England.
Right. Exactly.
I think boxing is that could segue into something that I wanted to very, very briefly say. The whole crisis in Olympic boxing is really coming to a head, and you now see the beginning of a formal split in Olympic boxing. With recently was announced both USA Boxing and the Irish Amateur Boxing Association, two of the powerhouses in Olympic and of course professional, but also Olympic boxing, have announced they will not be going to the IBA's both men's or women's world championships because of the terrible governance, the connection to Russia, lack of financial transparency, lack of democracy, and all of that. And Kremlev, the mini oligarch who basically runs it as a dictator, came out with a statement in a press release that was absolutely insane. He said, "Those who are doing this to our athletes are worse than hyenas and jackals." Sounds like a Ric Flair interview. They violate the integrity of sport and culture. I urge all of my colleagues to clear their organizations of such hyenas, as I can't call them another way. And to me, that just sounds like he's desperate. He's losing his mind. And the split is begun. It's imminent in Olympic boxing. As we're seeing in general, I just got to add, we're going to discuss more of this next week. We're scheduled to have on Rob Keeler of Global Athlete. But the whole situation that's been developing with the growing movement of sports ministers to ban the Russians and the Belarusians from the 2024 Paris Olympics. You had the mayor of Paris, the host city, whose grandparents, by the way, had to flee Spain during the fascism, during the Spanish Civil War. She came out and said, we can't have Russians competing in the Paris Olympics. The mayor of Paris said this, and she was joined in by other sports ministers who were trying to figure out, they're trying to work out, the Polish sports minister, and actually Anne Hidalgo also proposed, there might be a compromise, which I don't think either the IOC or Russia are going to accept, where you make a refugee team. In other words, dissidents from Russia and Belarus.
To represent Russia and Belarus?
No, not to represent them, but they could fight as neutrals who have fled the country and had to go into exile and are athletes. And there are some people like that. They can compete. And those are people with passports from Russia and Belarus. But we'll get into a lot more of this next week. Hopefully that comes through. Yeah. But there is no separation between the Russian military and the Russian sports apparatus. They're virtually one and the same thing, has been documented again by the leadership in Ukraine. And it's the whole pushback against Thomas Bach and his appeasement of Russia is really growing. So there's a battle going on right now. And it's whatever it's being done, Bach is trying to pretend that he supports Ukraine while bringing the Russians and Belarusians back. And all it's doing is destroying the Olympic brand, because can you just imagine you're going to have some Russian athlete wins, who quote unquote neutral, wins a gold medal afterwards, and who knows what they're going to say. And right afterwards, you have a commercial for McDonald's or Coca-Cola. Is that what they want to be next? And it was also compared to the blood in the water polo match in 1956. You could look that up if you're not familiar with it, where right after the Soviet Union invaded Hungary to smash the workers' democratic revolution, you had the Soviet Union and Hungary play in water polo, and that ended up in it's supposed to be a pretty tepid sport, in violence, and there was literally blood in the water that took place and fighting in water polo. So is this what Thomas Bach wants? So the pressure is mounting, and we're going to see what happens, and hopefully we'll discuss more of this next week.
Yeah, we're going to have that, guys, for
and stay tuned to see whether or not they're going to actually invade Moldova, because that's also happening.
Oh my
gosh. There's been lots of talk about it. So
well, look, folks, that is all the women's boxing news that we have for you today. I want to thank my co-host Melissa and my boy Eddie for bringing us an update on what's going on in the crazy world of sports. And this is Sports Justice Radio. WAAR Room. You guys check us out at warsports.com. Melissa, tell the people where they can find you, baby.
Well, I'm on it's Instagram, Twitter, Spoutable.
So we're all over the place.
We're all over the place. At Girl Boxing Now.
Right.
Always. That's how you find me. And my own website is girlboxing.org. And just so happy to be here to talk to y'all and to be with my partners here. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you for joining us. All right, Eddie, tell the people where they can find you.
I'd sing "We Are Family," but I don't think we have the rights to that song. You can find that. You can find me again. I'm still on Twitter. until Mellon destroys the place as he tried to do.
Felon. His name is Felon.
Felon. That's a good one.
Felon. I like that.
Felon Schmuck. Destroyed the place and almost wrecked the whole damn place. Right. But until that's gone, because still a lot of people, a lot of these quotes that I gave you came from officials in Ukraine, and boxing people are still on Twitter. So you got to still be on there. But I'm also on Spoutable. We're hoping that they get the bugs worked out, get the servers up and running. It's still slow and not always reliable, but to me, it's the most promising of these new social media sites. But again, we'll see, because I've been in a whole lot of these social media sites for almost 20 years, and I've seen them come and go. So I'm hoping that Chris Bowsey and the people at Spoutable get the whole thing going. And you should subscribe to my Patreon page. I had an article several days ago about the growing possibility of a boycott of the 2024 Paris Olympics. And that's at patreon.com/Eddie Goldman, and my website at eddiegoldman.com. And I'm still here in New York. I just had an X-ray today, and I'm still glowing.
You're still glowing, Eddie. We're happy to hear that, brother. All right, folks. Well, you guys, I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm primarily on Instagram at Fight Goddess Fitness. Also check me out. I'm still on Felon's site, the Bird app, which at Angry Afro Radio, and check me out at Fight Goddess on all those other apps. Just type Fight Goddess. You'll find me. So you guys check us out at warsports.com. This is Sports Justice Radio. You guys support our independent journalists because they are out there doing the work. Okay. They are out there doing the work, and nobody else is giving you what they're giving you. And I'm just here to share the news because I'm not a journalist. Okay. So you guys, till next time. Peace, love.
Spring training starts next week too.
Go Yankees! Peace, love, and push-ups.
That's right. That's right. My predictions are Aaron Judge hits 99 home runs, gets 199 RBIs, and that the Yankees beat the Mets in 4 games in the World Series.
Damn, what?
Okay.
All right. Peace, love, and push-ups, folks.
Bye.
We're out.